In the sex trafficking case against Sean Diddy Combs, Cassie Ventura, his former girlfriend and the prosecution's key witness, was back on the stand for a second day with more explicit testimony. She testified about the now infamous 2016 incident at a hotel, describing the circumstances before, during, and after, saying Combs beat her as she tried to escape a freak-off that turned violent. Prosecutors introduced images they alleged showed damage from a vase Combs threw at Cassie during that attack. She also testified that the drug-fueled sex parties eventually turned into pornography shoots, with Combs setting up video equipment for blackmail recordings. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges and faces life in prison if convicted. Cassie broke down on the witness stand as she described how her abusive, nearly 11-year relationship with Combs left her drug-addicted and psychologically damaged. She was made to participate in hundreds of freak-offs, sexual performances with male prostitutes, while Combs recorded them, using the videos as leverage. By the end of their relationship, she was suicidal, in trauma therapy, and experiencing PTSD. She wrote down what she thought would be chapters of a book, wanting Combs to understand the pain he had caused. She sued him and revealed for the first time that they settled the lawsuit for $20 million. The jurors were moved by her testimony, particularly when shown explicit images from the videos Cassie said she was made to record. One juror appeared taken aback, another raised an eyebrow, and another shook their head. Combs grabbed a binder containing the images and flipped through them with his attorney. Cassie's husband, Alex Fine, was in court and at one point glared at Combs during the explicit testimony. Notably, fewer members of Combs' family, including his daughters, were present, suggesting the graphic testimony was too much for them. Cassie also testified about her brief relationship with hip-hop star Kid Cudi in 2011 during a rough patch with Combs. She said Combs found out after a freak-off by seeing emails about Cudi on her phone, became enraged, and threatened to blow up Cudi's car. This is tied to one of the racketeering conspiracy acts Combs is accused of, specifically arson, though his lawyers deny his involvement in the car bombing. Prosecutors are working to establish a pattern of abuse to show coercive control, linking Cassie's testimony to charges of racketeering, sex trafficking by force, fraud, coercion, and transportation for prostitution. They introduced evidence of escorts and dancers hired from various states, supporting the federal case's focus on crossing state lines. The defense counters that Combs's actions constitute domestic violence, not sex trafficking, arguing the violence was about jealousy, infidelity, and money, not a criminal enterprise. They point to raw footage of the 2016 hotel incident, claiming Combs was trying to retrieve his cell phone, not trafficking. Former federal prosecutor Maria Cruz Melendez, who worked on the R. Kelly case, noted similarities, such as high-profile defendants using coercive control and abuse to manipulate victims. However, a key difference is that R. Kelly's victims were mostly minors, while Cassie was a successful adult, making it critical to convince the jury that her will was overcome by Combs's control. The prosecution aims to show this through Cassie's testimony and other witnesses, including another alleged victim, to establish a racketeering pattern. Legal analysts noted the prosecution is effectively evoking emotion to connect the jury with Cassie's experience, but they still need to prove federal charges like racketeering and sex trafficking beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense is focusing on distinguishing between domestic violence and trafficking, arguing Cassie's participation in freak-offs was part of a consensual, albeit abusive, relationship. Web searches show public interest in related topics. Cassie dated Kid Cudi briefly in 2011, ending it due to fear of Combs's threats, including the alleged car bombing. Alex Fine, Cassie's husband, met her in 2018 at a gym, became her trainer, and they married in 2019, having a child soon after. Suge Knight, co-founder of Death Row Records, is serving a 28-year sentence for manslaughter and has no direct connection to this case, but his past rivalry with Combs, stemming from the Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. era, fuels public curiosity. Little is known about Cassie's parents, though her mother, mentioned in court, appeared in a 2019 Instagram post announcing Cassie's relationship with Fine. Tiz has been a Sharri Plaza presentation. The defense challenges the jury's emotional response to Cassie's testimony and the graphic evidence. Jurors' visible reactions, e.g., raised eyebrows, head shaking, indicate the prosecution's evidence is resonating. To counter this, the defense may lean on cross-examination to highlight inconsistencies in Cassie's account or emphasize her agency in the relationship, though this risks alienating the jury if perceived as victim blaming. Jury dynamics and emotional impact. Cassie's breakdown on the stand, coupled with her detailed recounting of PTSD, suicidal thoughts, and drug addiction, is likely to leave a lasting impression on the jury. The explicit images, while shocking, serve a dual purpose. They corroborate her claims of coercion and amplify the emotional weight of her testimony. The prosecution's decision to show these images, despite their graphic nature, is a calculated move to make the abuse undeniable, even as the defense argues it falls short of trafficking. The jurors' reactions suggest they are grappling with the material, which could sway their interpretation of the legal definitions of racketeering and trafficking. The presence of Cassie's husband, Alex Fine, and the absence of Combs's daughters during the most graphic testimony add a human element to the courtroom drama. Fine's glare at Combs and the family's reduced presence signal the testimony's toll, potentially influencing jurors' perceptions of Combs's character and the case's stakes. The Kid Cudi allegation and racketeering. The 2011 incident involving Kid Cudi, where Combs allegedly threatened to blow up his car, is a critical piece of the racketeering charge. Prosecutors frame this as an act of arson within a broader conspiracy, illustrating Combs's use of threats to maintain control over Cassie and others. While Combs's lawyers deny his involvement, the fact that Kid Cudi's team corroborated the threat in 2023, per the civil suit, strengthens the prosecution's narrative. This incident also humanizes Cassie's fear, explaining why she ended her relationship with Cudi and remained under Combs's influence, public interest, and cultural context. The web search trends you highlighted reflect the case's grip on public attention, fueled by Combs's celebrity status and the salacious details emerging in court. The curiosity about Kid Cudi's relationship with Cassie underscores how new revelations about her past are reshaping public understanding of her ordeal. Similarly, interest in Alex Fine reflects a desire to know more about Cassie's life post-Combs, particularly how she rebuilt after such trauma. The Suge Knight searches, while tangential, tap into hip-hop's storied history of rivalries, with Combs and Knight as central figures in the 1990s East Coast-West Coast feud. Though Knight is unrelated to this case, his name evokes the broader cultural backdrop of power, violence, and controversy in the music industry, which amplifies fascination with Combs's downfall. Cassie's parents, though minimally discussed, are a point of intrigue because her testimony about withholding the truth from her mother hints at the isolation she endured. This detail, paired with her mother's appearance in the 2019 Instagram post, paints a picture of a fractured family dynamic during her relationship with Combs, further illustrating his control, legal and social implications. The case's outcome could have far-reaching implications for how sex trafficking is prosecuted, particularly in cases involving high-profile figures and adult victims. A conviction would reinforce the legal system's ability to hold powerful individuals accountable for coercive control, even in seemingly consensual relationships. Conversely, an acquittal could embolden defenses that reframe trafficking allegations as domestic disputes, complicating future prosecutions. Socially, the trial is a flashpoint in the Me Too era, spotlighting issues of power dynamics, abuse, and accountability in the entertainment industry. Cassie's testimony, like those in the R. Kelly and Harvey Weinstein cases, underscores the long-term impact of psychological and physical abuse, challenging narratives that question why victims don't just leave. Potential next steps in the trial. As the trial progresses, noted as Day 3 in the original transcript, expect the prosecution to call additional witnesses, including the alleged victim Jane and possibly experts on battered partner syndrome, to bolster their coercive control argument. The defense will likely intensify cross-examination of Cassie to probe for inconsistencies or emphasize her agency, while introducing their own witnesses to refute the trafficking narrative. The introduction of more physical evidence, such as additional videos or communications, could further shape the jury's perception. This has been a Sharri Plaza presentation.